Yo, seriously, everything that I prayed for last night, I've got it so far. I have one more thing to get done today. Son, God has blessed everything that I've asked for. One more thing, y'all. Hey, King.
What's up?
I love you.
Oh, you do now? And you just applications, ain't it?
No applications. You're the best thing that's ever happened to me. There's no grills in your mouth. You can't do that. Your teeth is white, though.
It is? No.
I said I love you.
I love you too, baby.
No, I take it back because you took too long. You're not being very nice to me today.
I was street.
You was no.
You know what?
Hey, Tristan.
On December 22nd, 2021, in a bustling park in Columbia, South Carolina, Taylor Wardlaw stood before a crowd of concerned volunteers, her hands trembling as she gripped missing person flyers. If anyone has seen Terrell Sims or knows anything, please come forward, she begged, her voice cracking with emotion. The 29-year-old mother's pleas echoed through the chilly air, urging the community to find her boyfriend, a 26-year-old father of 4. His kids need him, she said, her eyes brimming with tears. Taylor's face filled local news, her interviews and search efforts painting her as a desperate girlfriend fighting to bring Terrell home. But beneath this heart-wrenching facade lay a horrifying truth. Terrell wasn't missing. He was dead. 2 days earlier, Taylor had shot him in their home, a crime she hid with chilling precision. With her secret lover, Eddie Brown, she dumped his body by a creek and erased the evidence. How did she deceive everyone? What drove her to murder? The answers will shock you. Welcome to True Crime Intel, where we uncover the told and untold true crime stories that will shock you to your core. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe, you won't believe what we've got coming. To understand how Taylor Wardlaw could orchestrate such a chilling deception, we need to go back to the beginning of her relationship with Terrell Sims. In 2018, the two met in Columbia, South Carolina, their connection sparking with the excitement of new love. Terrell, just 26, was a devoted father of 4, balancing work and co-parenting while striving for a stable future. Friends described him as a man who, despite past mistakes, poured his heart into his children, determined to give them the life he dreamed of.
Terrell was generous, Rose says, and was a loving father to his 4 children.
He had plans to do for his kids. He was going to take the kids out Christmas shopping. He never got to.
But beneath the surface of their romance, a darker dynamic emerged. Taylor, 29, had a charm that could light up a room, but those close to the couple saw another side, suspicious, domineering, and consumed by jealousy. She could switch how she acted depending on who was watching. An acquaintance later told investigators, in public, Taylor played the devoted girlfriend, but alone with Terrell, she was relentless, questioning his every move and accusing him of infidelity. She wanted to know where he was every minute of the day, his cousin recalled. Taylor's possessiveness grew suffocating. She demanded access to Terrell's phone, bombarded him with texts if he was late from the store, and showed up unannounced to check on him. Any interaction with another woman, even a casual conversation, sparked her fury. This high-pressure environment isolated Terrell from friends and family, trapping him in a cycle of tension. By 2020, their arguments had escalated from verbal spats to physical altercations, loud enough for neighbors to hear them spilling outside their home. That year, a critical incident exposed the depth of their dysfunction. While 9 months pregnant with their child, Taylor reported that Terrell had threatened her life during an explosive argument. He was arrested, and a court issued a no-contact order to keep them apart. At the hearing, Taylor spoke of fear for herself and her unborn child, her words heavy with desperation. Yet within months of their baby's birth, the couple defied the order, moving back in together. They couldn't seem to stay apart, a mutual friend said, even when they shouldn't have been together. This push-pull dynamic defined their relationship, one week posting happy family photos, the next erupting in chaos. They co-parented their child in an environment where conflict was normal, compartmentalizing their hostility to maintain a facade of functionality. But Taylor's control only tightened, her accusations growing more intense. Unknown to Terrell, she had begun a secret relationship with another man, Eddie Brown, adding a dangerous layer to their already volatile bond. Their love had become a ticking time bomb, and by December 2021, it was ready to explode. What pushed Taylor to the breaking point? December 20th, 2021 marked the point of no return for Taylor Wardlaw and Terrell Sims. Inside their Columbia, South Carolina home, the tensions that had simmered for years erupted into a deadly confrontation. That day, Taylor's obsession with Terrell's fidelity reached a fever pitch. Her phone buzzed with dozens of accusatory texts, demanding to know where he was, who he was with, and why he wasn't answering fast enough. She was fixated on suspicions about Sims' fidelity, case records later revealed. Her messages a relentless barrage of jealousy. By 9 p.m., neighbors heard the argument escalate, louder and more volatile than the couple's usual fights. You could hear her screaming about him cheating, saying she had proof, one neighbor told investigators. The confrontation turned chaotic. Furniture overturned, items hurled across the room, glass shattering on the living room floor. In the heat of the moment, Taylor retrieved a firearm. Multiple shots rang out, piercing the night. Terrell was struck several times, one bullet fatally lodging in his back as he turned away. A detailed forensic analyst later confirmed that single shot would shatter any claim of self-defense. Terrell Sims, the devoted father of 4, lay dead on the floor of their home. What Taylor did next revealed the depths of her calculated mind. Instead of calling 911, she dialed Eddie Brown, her secret boyfriend. Within minutes of the shooting, phone records showed her reaching out not for help, but for an accomplice. Brown, who had been involved with Taylor behind Terrell's back, arrived at the house by 10:17 p.m., his vehicle captured on a neighbor's security camera pulling into the driveway. For over 2 hours, the pair plotted in the shadows of the crime scene. They didn't panic, they planned. Together, Taylor and Brown wrapped Terrell's body, their movements deliberate. They loaded it into a rental car Brown had obtained earlier that day, a detail that hinted at either premeditation or chillingly quick thinking under pressure. The car would later betray them, with forensic teams finding Terrell's blood and a bullet hole in the hood, undeniable proof of their crime. Under cover of darkness, they drove to a creek off Monticello Road, a location carefully chosen for its isolation yet accessibility. The location wasn't random, investigators noted. It was isolated enough to potentially delay discovery, yet accessible enough for quick disposal. There, they dumped Terrell's body, discarding his ankle monitor, a remnant of his 2020 domestic violence case, nearby, hoping it would vanish into the night. By the early hours of December 21st, Taylor and Brown were back at the house, scrubbing bloodstains and disposing of evidence. They crafted a story to shield their secret, a narrative Taylor would soon take public. The murder was no impulsive act of passion. It was a calculated step into a web of deception. Terrell's 4 children were left fatherless, and Taylor, the woman who claimed to love him, was already laying the groundwork to bury the truth. But how long could she keep up the lie while leading a search for the man she killed? The answer lay in her next chilling move. With Terrell Sims's body hidden by a creek, Taylor Wardlaw didn't crumble under the weight of her crime. Instead, she wove an elaborate deception that fooled an entire community. On December 22nd, 2021, just 2 days after shooting Terrell, she walked into the Columbia Police Department, her face etched with feigned distress. She filed a missing person report, claiming Terrell had stormed out after an argument on the evening of December 20th and never returned. Her story was meticulous. She described him wearing clothes that investigators later learned had been disposed of with his body. She handed over a list of his friends who might know his whereabouts, names she hadn't even bothered to contact. To sell her lie, she volunteered Terrell's phone records, and provided photos for missing person flyers, her voice quivering as she spoke to officers. Taylor's performance was so convincing that police initially treated the case as a standard missing person investigation. Her story gained traction, amplified by local media coverage. She gave interviews, her words dripping with concern for Terrell, the father of 4 who needed to come home. She leaned into her role as the heartbroken girlfriend, leveraging the community's sympathy to bolster her cover. But every step was calculated, a dual-purpose act to maintain her narrative while keeping tabs on the investigation's progress. Her boldest move came on December 27th, when Taylor organized a community search party. Coordinating with local residents, she distributed flyers bearing Terrell's photo and description, assigning search routes through neighborhoods and parks. But there was one area she steered volunteers away from, the creek off Monticello Road where Terrell's body lay. She kept saying we didn't need to check the areas toward the creek, one volunteer later told investigators, recalling Taylor's insistence that certain locations were already covered. Her control over the search was chilling, a masterclass in manipulation as she stood among those desperate to find the man she knew was dead. Behind the scenes, Eddie Brown, Taylor's secret boyfriend and accomplice, played a crucial role in keeping their lie intact. While Taylor took center stage, Brown stayed in the shadows, avoiding public appearances to prevent anyone from linking them. Their text messages, later recovered by police, revealed a coordinated effort to align their stories. "Let's make sure we know exactly what we're saying," Brown texted. "Say he left angry after you argued. Don't mention anything else." His absence from the search efforts was strategic, ensuring no one questioned their relationship while Taylor played the grieving partner. Together, they crafted a facade that seemed airtight, built on lies and betrayal. What kind of mind could pull this off? Taylor's ability to compartmentalize was staggering, mourning Terrell in public while concealing his murder in private. She navigated interviews, police questions, and community searches with a chilling duality, charming those around her while harboring a deadly secret. This contradiction lies at the heart of this case, investigators later noted, pointing to her psychological complexity. She wasn't just hiding a crime. She was orchestrating a performance that kept a community in the dark. But every lie has a breaking point. Taylor's deception held firm for nearly 2 weeks, until one person's suspicion began to unravel it all. Who saw through her carefully constructed mask? Taylor Wardlaw's deception held Columbia, South Carolina, in its grip for nearly 2 weeks, her lies weaving a convincing tale of a missing boyfriend. But on January 2nd, 2022, a crack appeared in her carefully constructed facade. A friend of Taylor's, troubled by inconsistencies in her story, made an anonymous call to the police. This tipster, whose identity remains protected, shared details only someone close to the crime could know, including the chilling suggestion to search a creek off Monticello Road. The tipster provided information only someone with knowledge of the crime could have known, court records later noted, pointing investigators directly to the location where Terrell Sims's body lay hidden. On January 3rd, 2022, police descended on the creek and found Terrell's body, exactly where the tipster had indicated. Nearby, they recovered his discarded ankle monitor, a critical piece of evidence from his 2020 domestic violence case. The discovery transformed the missing person case into a homicide investigation, and Taylor, the grieving girlfriend who had led search parties, became the primary suspect. The ankle monitor's data was damning. It showed normal activity until 9:47 p.m. on December 20th, the precise moment neighbors reported hearing gunshots. This time stamp aligned perfectly with neighbor reports, investigators confirmed, tying the crime to Taylor's home. Forensic evidence began to dismantle Taylor's lies. Despite her efforts to scrub the crime scene, technicians found traces of Terrell's blood in multiple spots throughout the house. Using specialized lighting and chemical treatments, they uncovered spatter patterns consistent with multiple gunshots. The blood evidence told us exactly what happened in that room, the lead detective testified. No matter how thoroughly someone cleansed, blood leaves microscopic traces that tell the story. The rental car used to transport Terrell's body was equally revealing. Though cleaned, it held blood residue matching Terrell's DNA and a bullet hole in the hood. Undeniable proof of the crime. Digital records sealed Taylor's fate. Phone data mapped her and Eddie Brown's movements on December 20th, from their home to the creek and back, contradicting her claim that Terrell had simply walked out. Text messages between the pair exposed their conspiracy, with discussions about cleaning supplies and aligning their stories. Messages exchanged after December 20th showed coordination of their stories and explicit mentions of evidence removal, investigators found. Friends also came forward, describing Taylor's controlling behavior and relentless accusations of Terrell's infidelity, painting a picture of a woman consumed by jealousy. The investigation's turning point came with the forensic analysis of Terrell's wounds. The fatal shot to his back, fired as he turned away, obliterated any self-defense claim. This detail, combined with evidence of multiple gunshots, suggested deliberation, not a fleeting moment of passion. By January 5th, 2022, police had enough to bring Taylor in for questioning. Her story unraveled under scrutiny, inconsistencies piling up until she could no longer maintain the lie. Within 48 hours of finding Terrell's body, Taylor Wardlaw was arrested, her mask of innocence shattered. But the question remained, would she face the full weight of justice for robbing Terrell's 4 children of their father, or would the courtroom hold one final twist? What drove Taylor Wardlaw to kill Terrell Sims and then orchestrate a chilling deception? Investigators pieced together a motive rooted in a lethal cocktail of jealousy, possessiveness, and fear of abandonment. Taylor's obsession with controlling Terrell was relentless. She monitored his phone, tracked his every move, and erupted at the slightest hint of infidelity. A lethal combination of jealousy, possessiveness, and fear of abandonment, experts concluded, drove her to extremes. Her secret relationship with Eddie Brown only intensified her paranoia, as she maintained her grip on Terrell while hiding her own betrayal. Despite her relationship with Brown, Wall maintained controlling behaviors towards Sims, investigators noted, revealing a woman who couldn't let go, even as she moved on. Their relationship was a pressure cooker, fueled by years of dysfunction. From 2018, Taylor's accusations and Terrell's isolation created a toxic cycle, escalating from verbal spats to physical altercations. The 2020 domestic violence incident, when a pregnant Taylor accused Terrell of threatening her life, was a glaring warning. His arrest and the court's no-contact order should have been a turning point, but the system failed them. Court documents from this period reveal the contradictory narratives that define their relationship, investigators found, noting how Taylor's fear gave way to reconciliation. Within months, they were back together, the order ignored with no follow-up. Relationships can become pressure cookers when healthy boundaries are absent, experts later said, and this unchecked volatility set the stage for tragedy. Friends and family saw the red flags. Taylor's obsessive monitoring, her manipulative narratives painting herself as the victim, but felt powerless to intervene. Several reported witnessing controlling behaviors, excessive jealousy, and verbal confrontations, investigators learned. Yet no one could break the couple's destructive cycle. They co-parented their child in a home where conflict was normalized, a heartbreaking reality for a young life caught in the crossfire. The legal system's failure to enforce the no-contact order was a missed opportunity, one of many that could have saved Terrell's life. His 4 children, now fatherless, bear the weight of a tragedy that was years in the making. The warning signs were there: jealousy, control, a history of violence. But they went unaddressed, leading to a night that changed everything. How could this have been stopped? And what lessons can we learn to prevent another family's heartbreak? On March 3rd, 2024, more than 2 years after Terrell Sims' death, Taylor Wardlaw stood in a Richland County courthouse, shackled and facing a mountain of evidence. What was meant to be the first day of a high-profile murder trial took an unexpected turn. Overwhelmed by the case against her, blood evidence, phone records, and witness testimonies, Taylor made a stunning decision.
Tonight in Richland County, where a murder trial ends before it ever begins. 31-year-old Taylor Wardlaw pled guilty to killing her boyfriend, 26-year-old Terrell Sims, in December of 2021.
News 19's Cassidy Byer was in court today. She's joining us now with the details.
On what was supposed to be the first day of trial, 31-year-old Taylor Wardlaw changed her mind, and after being led into the courtroom in shackles, She pleaded guilty to killing her boyfriend, 26-year-old Terrell Sims. The judge sentenced Wardlaw to 20 years in prison.
She pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter, avoiding a full trial that would have laid bare every detail of her deception and crime. The plea deal dismissed additional firearm charges that could have extended her sentence, a move that sparked heated debate. The judge sentenced her to 20 years in state prison, a punishment prosecutors called appropriate, given her acceptance of responsibility. For Terrell's family, the outcome was a bitter pill. They believed Taylor deserved life in prison, not just for the murder, but for the weeks of lies that compounded their grief. "You took my son from his children, then pretended to help find him," Terrell's mother said in a gut-wrenching victim impact statement, her voice trembling with pain. "The pain wasn't just his death, but the lies you told while we searched for him." Family members expressed outrage that the plea deal dropped charges related to evidence tampering and obstruction, pointing to Taylor's calculated cover-up as deserving harsher punishment. "Our brother was trying to leave her," one relative said. "She just couldn't accept it." Eddie Brown, Taylor's accomplice, faced his own legal battle. Prosecutors pursued charges of accessory after the fact and evidence tampering for his role in disposing of Terrell's body and cleaning the crime scene. His case remained ongoing, a reminder of how secondary players can become entangled in deadly schemes. The Sims Wardlaw case left a lasting mark on Colombia, exposing gaps in the system that failed to protect Terrell. The 2020 domestic violence incident, when a no-contact order was issued but never enforced, stood out as a missed opportunity. The legal system, having documented their volatile relationship, did not provide adequate follow-up, advocates noted, pointing to a lack of oversight that allowed the couple's toxic cycle to continue unchecked. The tragedy prompted local officials to rethink how domestic violence cases are handled. The case has prompted local officials to review how domestic violence cases are monitored after initial court interventions, investigators reported, with a focus on stricter enforcement of no-contact orders and better tools to identify high-risk situations. Friends and family haunted by the warning signs they'd seen, Taylor's jealousy, her controlling behavior, the couple's endless conflicts, grappled with their own sense of helplessness. Several reported witnessing controlling behaviors that hinted at the potential for violence, but felt powerless to act. Terrell's 4 children, now without their father, faced a future shaped by a preventable loss. The question lingered: was 20 years enough for a crime that shattered so many lives, or had justice fallen short? The story of Terrell Sims is a heartbreaking reminder of how deception and unchecked domestic violence can shatter lives. At just 26, Terrell was a devoted father, working tirelessly for his 4 children, only to be taken from them by the woman who claimed to love him. Taylor Wardlaw's lies didn't just end a life, they prolonged a community's anguish, forcing Terrell's family to search for a man she knew was gone. The Sims Wardlaw case exemplifies how multiple opportunities for intervention were missed, advocates said, pointing to a relationship riddled with warning signs: jealousy, control, and a history of violence that culminated in tragedy. Terrell's children now face a future without their father, a loss compounded by Taylor's 20-year sentence, which many feel failed to match the weight of her betrayal. Her chilling ability to lead searches while hiding a murder exposed a psychological complexity that haunts this case. But this story demands action. How can we better recognize domestic violence signs? How do we strengthen systems to protect those at risk? The unenforced 2020 no-contact order was a missed chance to save Terrell. His mother's words echo: "You took my son from his children, then pretended to help find him." If this story moved you, hit that like button and subscribe to True Crime Intel for more gripping cases. Drop a comment. Was justice served for Terrell? Share this video to raise awareness about domestic violence. Together we can honor Terrell's memory by advocating for change. Love shouldn't hurt.